This is a warning. This story contains no crime. There are no graphic descriptions of death. This episode, it deals with human strength, but not kidnap and torture. It might not be suitable for everyone. If you really want something, go and get it. If you really want to be somewhere, then get there. Don't let distance or obstacles stand in your way. Get there. Don't listen if people tell you you are crazy. Just go through what you need to go through and forget everyone else. If you really want something, go and get it. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Let me just do a couple of shout outs and then I'll get to the story, okay? And the first goes to, and I wish I knew her name and I don't, but she is 94 years old and she is in an old folks home in Australia, and she loves Extraordinary Stories podcast. So Chantal, who is one of the longest listeners to the podcast, since day one she has listened. She works in an old folks home and she was talking about the podcast to this 94-year-old woman who said, oh, it sounds like something I'd be interested in. And so Chantal played her the Gable Toasty episode. Do you remember the Gable Toasty episode? It's the one where, oh, it's hideous. It's the Tinder date that went completely wrong, where Warina ended up out on the balcony and then she ended up dead. And the whole thing was recorded. Do you remember? The whole thing was recorded on his phone. And it was all the weird, did they have sex? Like, what was the sex play? All that kind of stuff. Anyway, Chantal played this and she loved it. She then said to Chantal, what radio station is he on? I'll definitely tune in. I want more. I love that. Yes. Yes, to the 94-year-old who's listening. I just wish I knew her name. Anyway, on with the story. I have this story. What a woman I am going to tell you about. What a story. Have you ever wanted something enough that you will just put yourself through hell to get it? Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Okay, this story starts with a young Russian woman called Lillian Alling. Now, Lillian was an immigrant to New York. Her and her family had come at a young age to the USA, and they had settled in New York. This was 1917, and after only a short time, Lillian's family moved back to Russia, leaving Lillian in New York. Now, back in Siberia, where they lived, it was a life of poverty. It was a life of real depression. And so the family plan had been, let's come to New York, let's make money, and then we will return to Russia. But the family, they got to New York and they couldn't make a great deal of money, and so they decided to return back to Russia. Lillian, she stayed behind because she had different ideas. She felt like maybe she could make money and bring it back to her family. She felt like maybe she could make a go of living in America. She would make a success of it. She would be the person who would prosper, and she could take money back to her family. So the family returned home and they left Lillian behind. So she's 25 and she's in New York. She's working in a diner. She is living the most frugal life. She is saving every penny that she has. That's the kind of person that she was. She never spent anything on herself. She never bought herself anything. She just saved all of her money. I mean, I guess kind of coming from poverty, that's what you do. You just every penny becomes a prisoner. You know, you just have to keep hold of it. She was this kind of like, I don't know what the phrase would be in other places, but like in Britain, there's an old phrase of make do and mend. So I don't know what the equivalent of that would be. Maybe it is the same in other countries, but this idea of make do and mend. You don't throw things away. You're not casual about anything in your life. You keep hold of everything. You make the most of every tiny little thing. And this is what Lillian was like. She would cut every corner to make money. Now, so Lillian is quite good at her job in the diner, and she's been in New York for now 3 years, and there's something going on inside of Lillian, and that was homesickness. She hated New York. She felt that people were aloof, they were difficult, they were rude, and she struggled to really find her place within that. Now, she spoke good enough English to be able to get by, do her job, but she also carried a very, very, very thick Russian accent. People who worked with Lillian would ask her, "Are you okay?" if she looked a bit down or a bit sad, and she would say, "I want to go to Siberia." She wanted to go home more than anything. She missed her family. She missed Russia. And so she sets about planning to go back. Feeling homesick, I think, has to be one of the worst feelings in the world. Because, well, this is my reckoning on it. Homesickness is the one emotion the one emotional state to be in that can only be changed by you going home. And if you don't, then you are stuck with that feeling. Does that make any sense? Like, I suppose what I'm trying to say is, if you feel anxiety about a situation and you're stressed and you're worried, then the thing that you can do is you can address your anxiety about that thing. You can say, I'm anxious about this situation because of this person, or having to do this, or it's in front of you. You can deal with what's making you anxious. If you feel anger towards someone, then you know what that is. And you could always go to that person and say, I'm angry, and I'm angry because of this. If your heart has been broken by someone, then you can talk about that. You can say, my heart has been broken, you broke my heart, or you can speak to other people and you can say, this is who broke my heart, or this is what broke my heart. And those things are all, in some ways, they're huge emotional changes and things to deal with, but they're all dealable with. I just think if you're homesick, there is only one solution, and that is to be home. That's it. It ends there. There is no remedy. There is no fix. There's no talking through. If you're miles away from your home, there's no talking through anything that's going to fix you wanting to be back. So Lillian, she knew this. She was 24 years old, and she knew that her feeling of being homesick for Russia was so strong that going back to Russia was the only thing that she could do. Now, what she did was she tried to save up her wages, and she attempted to pull together all of the money that she could to travel back from New York to Russia by boat. But Lillian could never quite come up with the right amount of money. Every time that she was close to it, she would fail. She had her rent payments, she had things to pay, and she just couldn't quite raise enough money to travel on the boat. And so Lillian decided, if I can't make it by boat or by transport, then I will do it by foot. Lillian packed up her very few belongings that she had into a backpack. She was wearing a woolen jumper, a rain jacket, a pair of trousers, and I've no idea why, but 2 mismatched men's shoes on her feet. And Lillian decided that she was going to set out from New York and she was going to walk to Russia. That's right. She was going to walk 5,000 miles from New York to Russia. No one was daring to tell Lillian that this was insane, because this was the journey. This was her journey, and she was going to make it. When she was leaving, people were saying to her, what are you going to do? How are you going to survive? And she just kept saying the one thing, I'm going to Siberia. All the time. That was what she just kept saying all the time. I'm going to Siberia. And people would ask, well, yeah, but how are you going to manage it? How are you going to do it? Her answer always was, I'm going to Siberia. Before she left New York, Lillian went to the New York Public Library, and I love this. She started her own drawings of the maps between New York, and Russia, so that she would know what she was dealing with all that way. So she would go to the library and she would take out all the books that had the maps of how you get from here to here, and she did her own drawings of them. She found all these little okay, so I'd need to go here, and then I need to move up in this direction, and then and then there's a river, and then there's a creek, and then and she drew her own journey from New York to Russia on foot. So she wasn't going into it blindly. She wasn't just walking away one night. She had a vague idea of the journey she wanted to make. And she detailed what looked like they might be the very difficult parts of that journey. She detailed the bits where she may have to stop. She may have to stop and think, how is she going to cross this next bit? So off she goes. She leaves New York. She moves towards Buffalo. And she walks for days and days and days. Days and weeks and weeks. And she turns up in Canada. And then she goes from Canada and she moves on to British Columbia. Now, I'm not making that sound just really casual. Oh, she was just walking through things. She was just doing her own thing. She was becoming a real figure of interest at this point. People would see this lone figure walking down some strange paths and down some odd roads, and they would approach her and they would ask her if she was okay. What was she doing? Was she lost? Did she need help? Lillian was always quick to say, no, I'm not lost. I know exactly where I'm going. She carried with her a metal bar. And she carried this metal bar for protection. That was her only protection against anything. So she had a backpack on, but she carried the metal bar in her hand. Should she meet any person, any animal, or anyone who might want to harm her, she was armed with her metal bar. So my questions here were, what was she doing for food? What did she do when it came to sleeping? And these were the really burning questions that I had. Well, basically, at any opportunity that Lillian had, she would try to find bread anywhere that she could. If she was passing nearby a village, she would go to a house or go to a shop, and she would ask them if they could give her a small loaf of bread to help her on her journey. When it came to each night and weather conditions changed, she would find shelter anywhere that she could. Sometimes that was underneath some trees. Sometimes it was in just completely abandoned spaces where there was any shelter she would go to. She would sleep. She would wake up. And the next day, she would resume her walk. And as will always be, the newspapers were going wild at this point. Lillian became known as the mysterious walking woman. Lillian could not give two fucks about anybody reporting on her. She just didn't care. She was like, nah, I'm just doing what I need to do. Fuck off. Anyone who wants to ask me about it, just not interested. So, one evening, Lillian is walking out of British Columbia, and she's walking on the Telegraph Trail. Now, the Telegraph Trail is given its name because it was the first place to have a long telegraph line built across it. Almost 1,000 kilometres, leading from Canada into Dawson City. So she's walking along the telegraph line and she meets a man on the telegraph trail. This man lived in the area and he wasn't used to seeing strangers walk down the road, and he worried instantly that something was wrong. And he approaches Lillian and he's shocked. He's really shocked by her appearance. Her clothes were torn by this point. Her clothes were dirty. She looks malnourished. And he says, "Where are you going?" And she says, "I'm walking to Siberia." Now, God bless this man, because I think he's doing the right thing here. I think he thinks Lillian is suffering from some sort of mental health issue, or that something terrible has happened to her. And he says, "Look, come back to my house. I don't live far from here, and my wife is at home. And we will make you some food, and you can sleep tonight, and we can talk about what you want to do tomorrow. And if you still feel tomorrow like you want to go to Siberia, we will give you what we can to help you. But please, just come back, have some food, and you'll be fine." Lillian was really reluctant to go back, because all she wanted was to keep going. She just wanted to keep moving. But she also recognised that she did need to go back to somewhere and eat food. And she did need a night's rest. I mean, you can understand that. She must have been thinking, oh, okay, a night in a bed, in an actual bed with food would be amazing. So this man, he takes her back to the house. And when he gets back, this man's wife jumps into action and they make Lillian a massive meal. They offer her a bed and they try to sort of get an understanding of what she's trying to do. And she just keeps saying, "I need to go back to Siberia. I just need to go back." So she has her dinner and she goes to sleep in this house. And when she's asleep, the man who had found her walking down the street, he calls police. And he calls police because he's concerned. He's not calling police to report anything. He's saying, "I have someone here who I think needs some help, and I don't know what to do." He says, "I've basically met this woman on the street, and she says that she's trying to walk to Russia. So can someone come and help?" Police officers arrive the next morning and they arrest Lillian for vagrancy. She, of course, tries to object to this and she's like, "I'm not a vagrant. I'm just walking. That's all that I'm doing. I'm just trying to walk from where I was to my home. Is all that I'm trying to do." But police, they say to her, "Look, we're not arresting you because we think that you're trouble or we think that you're a danger to anyone. We're arresting you really because we're looking after your health more than anything." She refuses to believe this. She thinks that this is some sort of like, you're arresting me to be difficult, or you think I'm this kind of this thing, or you think I'm this kind of person. But they're not. They're actually just coming at it from a "we want to make sure you're safe" angle. So then she goes, when she's arrested, and she stands in front of a judge. Now this judge, I fucking love this judge. The judge says to her, "You've been charged with vagrancy." I don't know if that's the right word, but I think it is. Vagrancy. "You've been charged with vagrancy, and what's going to happen is you're going to spend 2 months in a prison farm in Vancouver." And Lillian freaks out. She's like, I don't want 2 months in a prison farm in Vancouver. Are you mental? That's not what I want. And the judge says to her, I'm not sentencing you out of punishment. I'm sentencing you out of concern. I am concerned that you think that you can achieve this walk. I'm putting you in this facility for 2 months so that you can eat and you can sleep and you can rest. And then you can make your decision from then on. You can do whatever you want, but I'm doing this because I think you need rest, you need food, and that's the best that I can do for you right now. So the judge, he sends her to this facility, and for 2 months she lives on this farm. She is sheltered, she eats well, she rests. At the end of the 2 months, what Lillian is done with is that she's not done with the idea that she's going to walk back to Russia. So she's still in Canada at this point, but she is determined. The sort of temporary stop has actually only made her more determined that she's going to do it. Now, the law at this point, they have no way to intervene. They try their best, but, it's like, you can't. If she wants to do the walk, there's no law that says that she can't do the walk. So the judge, right? The judge who originally was like, I'm only looking out for you, I only care for you. God bless this man. He says, at the end of her 2 months, he says, fine, you can go. But here is the deal. As you are now about to walk along those 3,000 kilometres, there are cabins all along the way. And I want you to report to a cabin every few days and let me know that you are okay. Just check in to a cabin and say, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm still alive. Let the judge know. What the judge is essentially saying at this point is, and I love this, he's saying, I can't fucking stop you from what you're going to do, but here are your, I suppose, bail conditions. You need to check in every few cabins and just let me know that you are alright. He essentially says to her, me setting you free, it doesn't mean that I won't be worried for your safety. So please stop in to these cabins and let me know that you are okay. It's a bit like that sort of situation, isn't it? When you've got do you know when you've got a family member that you've not spoken to for a long time, and they I know I've had this a couple of times when they hit you with a thing of going, I don't need to know everything that you're doing all the time. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know you're okay, and I just need to know you're safe. So I kind of feel like that judge was saying to her. But Lillian, God, she is one tough cookie. She's like, yeah, thanks very much, judge. That's really nice for your concern, but I'm on my way. So off she goes. Right, she's off walking again. But somewhere along the way, something kicks in, and she actually does stop in to a couple of the cabins, and she says, please send word back to the judge that I'm fine. Please let him know. Obviously, his message got through to her somewhere. So she's on her journey now. She's onwards to Russia. She's on her way. Along the way, someone gives Lillian a dog as a companion. A family dog they give her because they feel like she might need a dog for the rest of her journey. She's not alone anymore. She's got a dog. Off they go. By the time Lillian gets to Dawson City, There are a group of people, hundreds of people, waiting to cite Lillian because newspapers are documenting this mysterious walking woman. I don't know what they were quite expecting when Lillian arrived. When she gets there, and this is pretty horrible, but it is a fact, and I just have to tell you the fact. The dog that Lillian had been given had died as part of their journey, but Lillian had skinned the dog and stuffed it. Lillian had skinned the dog. She had taken out its internal organs. She stuffed it with grass and with mud, and she carried the skin, the carcass, the shape of the dog. And when she got to new places, people would ask her, "Why are you carrying this?" And she said, "The dog left me. I never left him." So you can imagine Lillian arriving in each new town with this dog carcass in her hands. But you know, interestingly, and I do love this, see wherever she went, people embraced Lillian and they wanted to help her. They wanted to give her a chance. So she's in Dawson City and it's the midst of winter. It is heavy snow. Really bad. But people give her a chance. She actually manages to take on a job as a waitress in the town. The town people rally round Lillian and they really try their best to help her. They give her places to sleep, to stay, they give her places, they give her food, they give her whatever she needs, and she's got a waitress job. And with this very small amount of money that she makes from being a waitress, she buys herself a very, very dilapidated boat. A very, very small. I mean, I say boat, I'm talking nothing bigger than a canoe, really. Like just slightly bigger than that. But anyway, this is what she wants to put her money towards. She's determined that she's going to make the next part of her journey by water. Now, I'm just going to interrupt the story here and tell you this. This is such a epic hashtag fucking fail on my part. When I started researching the story of Lillian, I was like looking about and I was going, oh right, so there's like, right, I can find that article. Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, there's someone who, right, fine. Oh God, there's a periodical. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll read through that periodical, and then what I'll do is I'll see if I can match that with the story that I've got online. That's fine, and we'll just put all these things together, and then I'll start to be working the story. And then I thought, well, do you know what? I'll just start searching for, maybe there's a documentary, maybe there's something about Lillian that might be interesting. Fine. So I start looking. I find a documentary and it's called Lillian, and it's connected to the search that I have done. So I was like, brilliant. It's half an hour long. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. This is where I'm going to be able to find lots of really interesting things that I can bring to the podcast. Brilliant. So, sit and watch the documentary. I've got my notepad and my pencil, and I'm like writing stuff down. I'm like, okay, so right, so grandfather was in the First World War. Right, okay, it's fine. Oh, brother died. Oh God, she's a dead brother. That's terrible. Okay, right, so mother was a bit like that. Oh, okay, right. So I'm writing down all these details. It gets 25 minutes in to the documentary, and I'm like, right, there's 5 minutes left. Why at no point has anyone mentioned the fact that she went on this huge walk? Wrong fucking Lillian. I was watching a fucking documentary about the wrong woman. I was like, what? What the fuck? This woman Lillian that I was watching one about was literally, I mean, great for her. She was like the first female bank teller who'd ever worked in America. That was it. That was her story. Fucking livid. Totally thought I was like, I totally thought I'd found all the right. I was like, oh, this is so good. It's gonna be fucking brilliant. Honestly, that level into it, these many notes, I was like, I am a fucking dick. Why did I watch the wrong fucking documentary? Are you kidding me on? Oh, anyway, yeah. Lillian knew nothing about boats. And people in the town, they would say to her, Lillian, it's not going to get you very far. It's not really going to get you anywhere. Let us help you. Let us build you a boat if you want. We'll do what we can to help this journey. But she just refused the help. She refused to believe that actually anyone could help her. She just needed to get back on her own. She was such a fucking determined woman. She just wouldn't take help. So she gets into her boat and off she goes down the Yukon River. Now in the Yukon River is huge. And people were saying to her, you are going to freeze to death. They were actually saying to her at this point, Lillian, you would be better walking. You would actually be safer walking. Like, don't go on the river. You would actually be better walking. But no, she determined she was going on the river. She just wouldn't listen. She put the boat on the river and off she went, knowing nothing about sailing and nothing about water, but heading towards what she wanted. I want to be back in Siberia. So she's out on the water for days and days. At one point she's passing through a sort of rural village and there's a man standing on the riverbank and he beckons her over and he says, where are you going? What are you doing? And she says, I'm going to Siberia. And he says to her, look, this boat is not equipped for that river. You're in the really wrong vessel if you want to survive this. I can equip this for you in a way better way. He says to her, I can take you in tonight, I can give you food, I can give you water, I can do whatever. Just let me fix your boat. And if you are so determined that you want to travel on, I will help you. I will build this boat. And she says, no. I just need to keep moving forward. So at this point, Lillian has been travelling mainly by foot, a little bit by boat. This is 3 years. 3 years into her journey. But her dream of getting closer to Russia is becoming a reality. Maybe her hard work has really paid off. And I know that what we all want here, and I want this more than anything, is we want a happy ending. We want the story to end with Lillian goes back to Siberia and everything is great. But here's the truth. No one ever knows if Lillian ever made it back to Siberia. A man who lives in the same town that Lillian was from said that he remembered a figure walking out of some dense woods who then fell to the ground, kissed the earth and said, I am home. And he said that was Lillian. And people will say, yes, I remember her coming home. I remember her coming home. But when asked for any details, it just all becomes sketchy. Was there ever any trace of Lillian ever again? No. No trace of Lillian was ever written down in any Russian government letters, government tracking, nothing. So, did Lillian actually survive that journey? Nobody actually knows. When the story of her incredible walk made the news, authorities jumped into action to see if they could discover and find where might Lillian be. What happened to her? Did she fall victim to something terrible? Did she make it back to Siberia? Did she? What happened? What actually happened? But no trace of Lillian was ever found. They couldn't find a body. They found Lillian's boat, and the man who had helped put the boat together, he verified, yeah, that was the boat. They found the dog carcass that she carried about. They found all the people who could talk to them about meeting Lillian as she passed through their village, and they all wished her well on the way, but they never ever found Lillian. So maybe that man was right. Maybe the figure who walked out of the woodlands, kissed the ground and said, "I'm home," was Lillian. But nobody knows. What we do know is this: found or not, Lillian undertook something that nobody else has ever undertaken. She attempted to walk from New York to Russia, and she did it by her own rules, and she did her own thing. We know that she was fierce, and she was determined that she was going to do it. We know that she stayed with people, and we know that she had a dog with her for that time. We know that this was a woman who was fiercely independent. We'll never know if she ever made it to Siberia. But what we do know is this: if you want something badly enough, then you don't let anything stop you getting what you want. And so ends the story. And so from the absolute bottom of my heart, I hope she made it back to Siberia. We'll never know, but I hope she got back there. And I hope that she got there and she made the life that she wanted to make when she got there. I hope she was peaceful and I hope she was happy. And you know what? See if that never happened. I still have the most amazing fucking respect for Lillian, because you know what? Just do what you need to do. Do it. So good on you, Lillian. Good on you for following your heart and putting yourself through the most grueling task to be where you thought you needed to be. I hope you enjoyed the story of Lillian. It's a weird one. It's an odd one. It's what is it? I don't really know. Give me the word. Give me the word. If you have the word, give me the word. I don't know. Don't really know how to describe it. But yeah, what a woman. What a story. Aye. Don't know. Don't know what to say about Lillian. Strength. I just think it's strength. I think that's what I'm talking about. I think I'm just talking. I actually was like, I took a pause there because I was like, what am I talking about? I'm talking about strength. I'm talking about actually having, I don't want to say the balls because that makes everything masculine and I hate to do that, but it's having the guts. It's having the guts to do it. Just having the guts to fucking do what you want to do. Be the person you need to be. So, good on Lillian for doing that. Alrighty. Well, I'm out here for this short stories episode. If you want to get in touch, if you want to chat, right? If you want to chat more about the stories, if you want to just be with some amazing people, then join the Facebook group. Okay, I can't say it anymore. Join the fucking Facebook group. You would literally be walking into a community of people who will welcome you with open arms. And there's no... Do you know what was really interesting was I put up that thing about it's been a year of the Facebook group, and yeah, I just think it's really interesting that people were like, oh God, I was dead scared of Facebook groups before because I always thought they were these really intimidating places. It's not. Oh God, I swear to God to you, it's not intimidating. Join the Facebook group. It's just fucking wonderful. It's hilarious and just, it's mental. So join it. I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also contactable by email, extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. And until the weekend, thank you for listening. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your ears. Okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.